The Admiral watched the drifting wreck with a calm he did not feel. 15 years had reduced humanity to scattered dust, and he considered the outcome permanent. Refugees hiding among cold rocks, families smuggled through broken trade lanes, small groups scraping by in abandoned stations. All of them beneath his notice. His fleet hunted them across 800 worlds, and still he felt bored. Victory tasted stale when the enemy could barely rise. He turned to the tactical display showing a cluster of faint signals, human life signs, fewer than 40, a weak breath in a silent region. He smiled. Another sweep, another purge, another reminder that the Empire shaped history while the remnants of Earth vanished into myth. The Council called humans a solved problem, and he repeated the line often. A lesson etched into every briefing. They cannot rebuild. He remembered the last time he saw a human ship try to fight. A tiny freighter, engines overheating at 43%, shields peeling away in 20 seconds. The vessel disintegrated under a single spinal beam. No retaliation, no formation, no doctrine. Just smoke and surrender. He logged it as proof that resistance had ended. The thought returned now as he prepared another strike. His officers reported a debris ring at 12,000 kilometers. They expected a hiding skiff, maybe 2 escape pods, nothing that mattered. He approved a sweep with the same detached certainty he had used for a decade and a half. Weakness had rhythm, predictable, small trails of heat, short energy bursts. Running, always running. Human behavior felt more like weather than warfare. He watched the signals flicker, cold, thin, afraid, the perfect reflection of a species that had lost its world and scattered like ash. These survivors clung to life, but did nothing with it. They were living memorials of a failure too complete to undo. He considered them useful evidence that the Empire's doctrine was flawless. A comm officer laughed quietly when a human transmission reached the bridge, fragmented and soft. Someone begging for safe passage, someone offering rations in exchange for mercy. The Admiral let the message play twice. It fit everything he believed. Defeated worlds did not rise again. He sent the reply that had closed hundreds of hunts, surrender coordinates, deactivation protocol, compliance window of 60 seconds. No one had ever defied it since the fall of Earth. Not once in 15 years. Thin tremor ran through the youngest officer on the deck. The Admiral noticed, but dismissed it. Compassion held no place here. He had seen too much weakness to allow any doubt. Still, he waited. A quiet patience, a ritual certainty. Humans would comply, and the Empire would remove another stain from its map. He imagined the record entry already, 40 fugitives, eliminated without resistance. We end what began, he murmured. Tactical icons steadied. The signals dimmed further, like embers losing heat. They cannot rebuild. The Imperial fleet advanced through silent dust, convinced the century-old truth still held. The hull appeared first as a shadow, a straight line cutting across the dead zone's haze. Sarah Chen reduced thrust to a crawl. Her sensors kept failing to draw the full shape, as if the object refused to fit inside the frame. Marcus leaned over the console, breath held. The measurement finally settled. 3,000 meters from bow to stern. Terran's signature, cold, silent, waiting. No one spoke. 15 years of running had trained them to expect traps, wrecks, or the bones of lost fleets. Not this. The Resilience drifted alongside the black surface. No scorch marks, no breaches, no decay. Just a sleeping colossus with its lights long extinguished. Sarah guided them to a docking port 30 meters wide, too large for any vessel, built since Earth fell. Inside, the air tasted metallic but clean. They advanced through towering corridors shaped for crews in the thousands. Emergency strips ignited under their boots, glowing one by one along the path, triggered by presence alone. Marcus whispered the registry number when they reached the central atrium. TSS Aurelia, last logged, 47 years before the fall. His hands trembled. She shouldn't be here. Power surged through the deck plates. A tone cut the silence. 3 notes, soft but deliberate. The lights stabilized. Doors sealed behind them. A voice followed, calm and precise, without distortion. Terran. Survivors detected. Identity verification pending. Sarah froze, An AI still running after centuries was a miracle. A military AI still loyal was something else entirely. Aurelia, state your condition. Primary system stable, battle damage minimal, crew status suspended. A pause, brief but heavy. Total sleepers, 47,312. Marcus let out a slow breath. They're alive. The confirmation washed across the atrium screens. Thousands of cryopods, arranged in 12 vast bays, each signature steady. Scientists, navigators, engineers, strategists, an entire generational command crew preserved like a promise. Sarah felt the weight settle into her chest. If these people woke, humanity would no longer be fugitive dust. The AI shifted tone. Survivors, provide mission intent. Sarah looked at her team. For 15 years, they had survived by bending, by hiding, by conceding. Running had become habit. Fear had become doctrine. She tasted the bitterness of it now, standing inside a ship built for a civilization that no longer existed. We don't have a mission, Marcus said quietly. Just staying alive. The AI processed the words. Status incompatible with Terran survival protocols. This vessel is designed for recovery and defense. Await intent. Sarah stepped forward. Intent is this. No more surrender. No more kneeling. The ship reacted instantly. Screens shifted to tactical maps. Old Terran codes recompiled. Hidden armories unlocked. Reactors warmed from deep idle to ready state. The Aurelia was not merely functional, it was waiting for someone to speak those words. A tremor ran through the deck as dormant weapon banks aligned. A quiet line appeared on every display, a single message from the AI. Terran directive accepted. Sarah exhaled. We stand again. Behind her, Marcus stared at the numbers glowing above the cryo bays. 47,312 lives preserved. 47,312 reasons to stop running. The ship breathed, ancient and unbroken, as if relieved that humanity had finally chosen to rise. The first warning came as a thin vibration through the Aurelia's spine, a tremor too clean to be natural. Sarah stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the tactical sphere as 3 crimson markers blinked into range. Imperial hunters. Their formation tight, their confidence absolute. For 15 years, humans had fled at the sight of these ships. Now the Empire expected the same pattern. Run, broadcast surrender, break apart under fire. A transmission arrived. Short, cold, efficient. Unidentified vessel. Power signatures prohibited in this sector. Prepare for inspection. No introduction. No identification. The voice of a fleet that believed the rules were already decided. Sarah let the message fade. Aurelia, status! Shields at 12% and rising. Reactor flow stable. External weapons charging. Marcus leaned over the sensor table. Those ships carry spinal lances rated at 1.7 terawatts. One beam used to split colonies. We can't trade shots with them. We won't, Sarah said. The first barrage arrived at minute 1. A focused bolt of blue-white energy connected with the Aurelia's hull, bright enough to wash the deck in sterile light. Marcus flinched out of instinct. The screens didn't. The impact reading held steady at 0 hull breach. Absorption field engaged, the AI stated. Energy transfer, 94% captured. The rest of the beam wrapped around the curvature of the hull and vanished like spilled water rolling off stone. Sarah watched the trajectory bend without heat distortion. Aurelia, confirm no reflection. Confirmed. Energy returned to void as inert flux. The second barrage arrived at minute 2. 3 lances synchronized. The ship swallowed them the same way, quiet, controlled, inevitable. Instead of cracking armor, the beams sank into the absorption membranes and disappeared. A punchline dropped into Sarah's mind, unbidden, yet true. They don't know we're not the same. The Imperial commander sent another demand. Unknown. Vessel, identify. Your shield readings are impossible. Sarah kept her voice steady. No identification. Minute 4. The enemy shifted to kinetic rounds. A swarm of tungsten projectiles accelerated to 38 kilometers per second. The AI raised a secondary barrier. The rounds liquefied on contact, flowing like mercury before dispersing as harmless vapor. Marcus stared. "We're bending their physics." The first opportunity came at minute 6. The AI displayed target. Icons. "Recommend counterstrike if survival is prioritized." Sarah held the rail, weighing the choice. Dominion ships carried crews, usually pressed labor, often human captives. Strike too hard, and they would repeat the Empire's cruelty. Too soft, and they would invite another chase. She drew a steady breath. Disable propulsion only. Keep, in losses minimal. Directive accepted. At minute 8, the Aurelia fired. No thunder, no flash. Just a silent pulse from the primary emitter that rippled across 13 kilometers. The nearest ship's drives folded inward, collapsing into a sphere of condensed metal. No explosion, no fireball. One vessel neutralized. Minute 9. The second ship fired its full lance in panic. The Aurelia caught it, bent it, and redirected the energy through a narrow slit in spacetime. A fraction of a second later, the lance reappeared behind the attacker. The beam punched through its hull cleanly, gutting systems without igniting the reactor. A mercy strike disguised as annihilation. Sarah whispered, 2. Minute 12. The third ship retreated, engines burning at 112%. The Aurelia launched a single-filament drone. It attached to the fleeing vessel's stern, released a controlled gravitic surge, and collapsed the drive core without harming the bridge crew. The ship fell dark and drifted. 3 enemy ships disabled, the AI reported. 12 minutes elapsed. Sarah watched the drifting silhouettes and felt no triumph, only clarity. For the first time in 15 years, humans had not run. They had stood, absorbed the blow, and responded with precision instead of desperation. Marcus exhaled. "They'll report this." "They should," Sarah said. The Aurelia turned slowly toward the dark, ready for the next wave. The enemy perimeter formed faster than Sarah expected. 9 ships fanning out across a 70-kilometer arc. Weapons primed, engines hot. They had learned from the earlier defeat. No single-pass barrage, no assumptions. Their formation was tight, interlocked, drilled for precision strikes. A net meant to crush anything trapped inside it. The Aurelia drifted at the center, calm and silent. Sarah studied the display. "They're closing the ring," Marcus ran calculations. "At full burn, they can compress the perimeter to 6 kilometers in 90 seconds. We won't have maneuvering room." "We don't need it," Sarah. Zed and the AI agreed. "Close-in vector sequence prepared. Drive lattice stable within tolerance, predicting hull stress at 0.7%. Marcus swallowed. "We've never tested this at full scale." The deck lights dimmed. The gravity shifted by 1%, barely. Noticeable, a gentle tilt, but enough to signal the drive lattice unlocking beneath the ship's plating. A low hum spread through the structure, each harmonic sliding beneath human hearing, more felt than heard. "Initiate," Sarah said. The reality-bending engines engaged. The stars outside didn't blur. They folded, not motion, not velocity, a controlled refusal of distance. Space contracted in clean geometric lines around the hull, and the 70-kilometer gap collapsed to 30, then 15, then 6 in a single breath. The Aurelia didn't accelerate. It arrived. A standalone line dropped into the quiet. Close, enough to be undeniable. Imperial sensors erupted with alarms. The formation lost coherence as captains shouted conflicting commands. Sarah watched their confusion unravel the net. They had prepared for thrust, burn, evasion, not for a ship that ignored the foundation of their doctrine. "They can't track the vector," Marcus said. "Our displacement broke their prediction model." "Good," Sarah replied. "At 3 kilometers, the Aurelia pivoted without inertia. The Imperial ships attempted to correct. Their computers expected acceleration, turning radius, engine signature, none of which applied. The Aurelia existed where physics allowed it, and then where physics bent for it. One destroyer overshot its path and drifted into the wrong firing. In lane. Another compensated too late and clipped its escort at 43 meters per second, sending both ships spiraling. No blasts, no death, just collision from doctrine failure. The AI expanded the perimeter view. Enemy command is reclassifying us. Probability of escalation, 87%. They still think we're a relic, Marcus said. Something running outdated code. They'll learn, Sarah replied. The enemy attempted a containment box. 6 ships tightening from all directions, seeking to force the Aurelia into predictable motion. The AI predicted the pattern 3 seconds before it formed and shifted the carrier 30 meters sideways with a micro-distortion fold. Just 30 meters, small enough to be subtle, large enough to unravel the entire box. The Imperial commander finally transmitted, voice sharpened by fear. Unknown vessel, identify your propulsion. This maneuvering is not permitted under treaty law. Sarah stayed silent. Their fear was not a victory. It was the first sign that the Empire understood the gap. 15 years of stagnation versus humanity's preserved knowledge. The Aurelia slipped into the heart of the formation, no weapon ports open, no charges primed, another lone line, soft but firm. We are inside your certainty. The Empire's doctrine was built on measurable threat. Thrust, heat, vector, mass. The Aurelia defied all 4. The Imperial ships withdrew 6 kilometers to re-evaluate, pulling back with the rigid caution of predators suddenly unsure of their prey. Marcus exhaled. They don't know how to fight us. They will, Sarah said. But not today. The Aurelia held its position, engines quiet, reality bending around it with calm precision, ready for whatever response the shaken Empire assembled next. The kill box formed with mechanical elegance, 12 Imperial warships shifting into a perfect lattice around the Aurelia. 12 vectors, 12 synchronized firing paths, a cage designed to crush anything caught at its center. Sarah watched the grid settle into place, 6 ships above the equator line, 6 below, each calibrated to strike the moment the carrier moved. Marcus whispered the obvious. We're pinned. No, Sarah said. We're evaluated. The Imperial commander transmitted with stiff, rehearsed certainty. Relic vessel, your propulsion is in violation of sovereign combat law. You will power down in 20 seconds. Non-compliance authorizes lethal resolution. Sarah let silence answer. The countdown began. 20 seconds later, the first volley hit. 12 beams converged into a single radiant column, 1.9 terawatts of focused energy, bright enough to blind. Sensors, dense enough to melt a cruiser in 2 seconds. The column slammed into the Aurelia's hull. It vanished, absorbed, bent, dissipated across the ship's membranes without a ripple. Marcus stared at the readings. 91% capture, 9% dispersed, 0 structural stress, the eye. Imperial ships adjusted for a second shot. Sarah kept her tone level. Aurelia, measure firing cadence. Cadence interval, 4.2 seconds. Efficiency decline, 0.3% per cycle. They're burning themselves out, Marcus murmured. Good, Sarah said. Minute 3. The AI generated a predictive model of the kill box. 12 ships, 36 firing relays, 87 propulsion nodes, 11 possible collapse points. Select 6, Sarah ordered. Minimal casualties. Targets designated. Minute 4. The Aurelia released its first pulse. No visible beam, no flash. Just a thin distortion in space, like a wrinkle in cold glass. Ship 803 froze mid-maneuver, its reactor cycling down in a controlled shutoff. Lights dimmed, weapons darkened. The vessel rotated slowly, drives offline, but hull intact. One neutralized, the AI reported. The Imperial formation tightened, forcing the remaining 11 ships into rapid vector shifts. Minute 6. A coordinated barrage converged again, but the Aurelia's field reconfigured with surgical precision. The energy bent sideways, redirected into a narrow slit that vented harmlessly into vacuum. Sarah raised her hand. Second. The carrier's response was a microfold, a localized compression of space-time that clipped the stern of ship B-11. Its propulsion assembly imploded into a compact sphere 4 meters wide. No explosion, no debris, just sudden stillness. 2 minute. 9. Panic spread through Imperial comms, fragmented orders, conflicting maneuvers, captains arguing over doctrine failures. The formation wavered by only a few degrees, but it was enough. Aurelia, third and fourth. Twin pulses triggered two ships simultaneously. One lost its spinal arrays, sheared clean without heat. The other had its bridge sealed in an emergency. Cocoon as control systems shut down. Both drifted, unharmed but helpless. 4, Sarah said softly. Minute 14. The remaining ships attempted a rotational kill pattern. An old Dominion tactic meant to overwhelm shields through angular momentum. The Aurelia simply stepped aside, shifting 30 meters with a short-range distortion fold. The synchronized. In barrage missed entirely, carving through empty space. Marcus exhaled. They're collapsing. Doctrine can't adapt. Fifth, Sarah ordered. Ship C-07 flickered as its weapons grid shut off row by row, every capacitor drained with mathematical U. Synchronization. Its captain tried to compensate. The bridge lights died, minute 20. One final pulse. Ship D-02 lost gravity for 0.6 seconds, forcing an automatic emergency shutdown of its reactor. It drifted quietly, its crew alive. 6 enemy vessels neutralized, the AI said. 0 casualties. A lone line formed in Sarah's mind and stayed there. Precision is mercy. The remaining 6 Imperial ships broke formation, engines flaring in frantic retreat. Sarah watched them go. They understand now. The Aurelia held steady in the dim light, calm and unshaken, the failed killbox dispersing around it like dust. 15 minutes after the killbox collapsed, the Aurelia's command deck settled into a steady hum. No alarms, no pursuit. Just a quiet the Empire had not granted humanity in 15 years. Sarah stood at the center platform as the AI expanded a new projection, one she had not asked for. Displaying Terran diaspora ledger, the AI said. The sphere filled with light. 12 systems flickered into view, each marked by small, trembling pulses. Sarah leaned closer. Survivor counts? Confirmed human populations, 5,237 across 12 locations. Marcus whispered the numbers as if saying them made them more real. Scattered, underfed, running, but alive. Each system told a different story. Asteroid shelters with barely functioning water coils, frozen moons where a few hundred lived in sealed mining tunnels, forgotten trade posts where families rationed heat and silence. No fleets, no reinforcements, just people waiting for a future that never came. Another layer formed above the map, red clusters, dense and overwhelming. Imperial captives of Terran origin, the AI continued. 15 million accounted for across labor rings and occupation zones. Sarah's jaw tightened. 15 million voices muted beneath an empire that had already declared humanity extinct. 15 million reasons to stop accepting survival as enough. Marcus stared at the red halos. If we move now, we risk drawing every Imperial fleet from the core worlds. They'll see us as insurgents, not refugees. They already do, Sarah said. We're done hiding! The map shifted again. A massive blue grid expanded outward, dwarfing every human marker. 800 worlds, 40 billion Imperial citizens, under the rule of a conqueror who believed obedience was stability. Demographic analysis complete, the AI said. Total Imperial population, 40 billion. Majority classified under forced economic compliance. Minority classified under privileged caste. Projected loyalty variance, significant, Marcus frowned. You're telling me the Empire itself is unstable? Affirmative. Sarah felt the weight of that number. 40 billion lives, entire civilizations shaped by control, cultures folded into Imperial doctrine. Species bound in systems they had never chosen, she steadied her voice. We are not here to break their worlds. The AI paused, processing. Genocide remains the statistically efficient route to Terran resurgence. Not acceptable, Sarah said sharply. Marcus turned toward her, surprised by the force in her voice. There are paths that preserve Terran survival while minimizing Imperial casualties, the AI offered, adjusting its projection. Not minimize, Sarah corrected. We don't kill billions because we were wronged. We don't erase worlds to reclaim our own. The AI fell silent for 2 seconds, its equivalent of stunned reflection. Sarah lifted her chin. Prepare a broadcast, wide spectrum, All 12. Survivor systems. All captured Terran channels and any Imperial frequency within reach. Message contents? She exhaled slowly. Truth. The broadcast deployed across the void, tight, clear, unshakable. This is the Terran vessel Aurelia. Humanity is no longer fleeing. We do not seek conquest. We do not accept genocide. We are reclaiming our people, not erasing yours. A second line, quieter but stronger for its simplicity, followed. We rise, but we will not become you. Marcus. Watch the signal propagate across the starfield, reaching every corner where humans lived in fear. They'll hear that everywhere. They need to, Sarah said. The galaxy should know exactly who we are before they try to define us. The map dimmed, leaving 12 faint pulses, the beginnings of a future. The Aurelia waited in the silent dark, its purpose aligning with a decision finally made. The Imperial response did not come as a fleet, but as noise. A storm of fragmented transmissions filled the Aurelia's receivers, not commands, not threats, arguments. Entire sectors speaking over one another with a tension Sarah had never heard from the Empire before. Marcus stabilized the feed, isolating channels one by one. A governor from the Talaris Rim demanded immediate negotiations. A military prefect insisted the relic threat must be purged. A scientist from the inner academies begged for communication, calling the Aurelia proof of suppressed history. They're fracturing, Marcus said. Peace factions, reformists, traditionalists, none of them agree on how to handle us. Sarah studied the feed. For 15 years, the Empire had spoken with one voice. Now that voice cracked across 1,000 frequencies. Fear made some want blood. Hope made others willing to talk. Control slipped between them. They thought we were a myth, Sarah said. Now they're arguing over a future they didn't plan for. The AI overlaid new markers on the star map. Detecting 4. Internal Imperial revolt signatures, small but active. Marcus nodded. If they're fighting each other, they can't unify against us. We're not here to exploit them, Sarah reminded him. We're here to stabilize what they'll destroy if they panic. The AI shifted tone. Terran sleepers are reaching threshold conditions. Revival sequence recommended. Sarah, face the cryo interface. A grid of pods, 47,312 lives suspended between past and possibility, but only 47 were marked with the gold seal of strategic designation. Who are they? Marcus asked. Specialists, the AI replied. Doctrine architects, logistics commanders, predictive strategists, selected for extended simulation inheritance. Simulation inheritance? Marcus echoed. Each specialist completed more than a century of accelerated simulations. Sarah felt her breath tighten, meaning they've lived 100 years of war in compressed time? And 100 years of peacekeeping, the AI added. Balance was required. The pod bay. Lights warmed as the revival sequence began. Mist rose from the first chambers, heartbeats stabilized. Eyes fluttered open. Some cautious, some sharpened by knowledge their bodies had never lived. A woman with silver-threaded hair stepped out first, posture steady despite years of stillness. Identify command authority, Sarah answered. Captain? Sarah Chen, acting Terran command. The woman studied her for a full second, then nodded. I am strategist Hale. Simulation count, 142 years. Operational readiness, confirmed. She scanned the chamber. Report status. Sarah gave the simplest truth. Earth fell 15 years ago. Survivors scattered. Captives total 15 million. We just refused genocide. Hale's gaze sharpened. Good. Genocide is statistically effective but morally catastrophic. It destroys the reconstruction window. Marcus blinked. You're calm about all this. We have lived collapse scenarios thousands of times, Hale said. This outcome is within expected variance. More specialists emerged. Engineers, tacticians, cultural analysts, logisticians. 47 in total. All steady. All evaluating reality through the lens of centuries of simulated experience. One of them, an older strategist named Cato, studied the Imperial transmissions. They are fragmenting faster than predicted. Peace factions are rising because fear is destabilizing doctrine cohesion. Sarah stepped closer. Can they be reasoned with? Yes, Cato said, but only if we move before the militant faction regains control. Hale added, the Empire is facing its first uncertainty event in generations. You created it. Now we must shape the response. Sarah felt the weight of their words settle into place. Then we act together. The specialists bowed their heads. Not in reverence, but in acknowledgement. They were no longer simulations. They were humanity's restored spine. The Aurelia's lights steadied, systems syncing to the revived minds now ready to guide them. The Empire was cracking, humanity was rising, and the next move would decide whether both survived the shift. The HFY. Aurelia dropped into orbit above Earth like a silent verdict. The planet below lay dim under occupation grids, 15 years of enforced compliance, visible in the scars across its continents. And waiting above it, spread across 6 orbital layers, the Empire had assembled an answer: 1 million ships. Sarah stood at the command rail as the tactical display filled with countless crimson markers. Rows upon rows, carriers, lancers, interdiction, platforms. Enough firepower to vaporize moons. Enough mass that the AI calculated a gravitational ripple. Marcus exhaled once. They brought everything! Strategist Hale stepped beside him. No, if they brought everything, they wouldn't be broadcasting warnings. They're afraid. The main Imperial channel opened. The voice was tight, brittle. Relic vessel Aurelia, stand down! You are surrounded by sovereign authority. Hand over your crew and deactivate your AI. Sarah didn't answer. Instead, she focused on a set of green markers flickering deep beneath the orbital layers. Labor rings, where 15 million Terran captives were still held. Priority, she said quietly. The AI responded. Extraction vectors calculated. Non-lethal suppression patterns ready. The first Imperial strike arrived at minute 1. Thousands of beams converged, each carrying enough energy to level a continent. They reached 100 meters from the Aurelia and folded. The absorption field scattered the power harmlessly into vacuum, light dissolving into colorless haze. Hale watched without blinking. Their weapons can't solve us. Doctrine gap confirmed. Minute 3. The Aurelia dropped its first intervention pulse, broad, silent, precise. Across a span of 400 kilometers, Imperial firing grids flickered out. Capacitors emptied. Spinal weapons reported null response. Entire sections of the million-ship formation lost the ability to pull a trigger. Marcus tracked the numbers. We just disabled 82,000 ships in one sweep. Minimal damage, the AI confirmed. All crews stable. The Empire responded with desperation, launching fighter waves, drone spheres, kinetic barrages from 1,000 angles. The Aurelia stepped between instants, folding twice, then again, appearing 19 kilometers deeper into the formation before. The first drone crossed half the distance. Strategist Cato tapped the hollow. Open corridor to Earth, we move now. Minute 7. The carrier released the rescue lattice. 12 shimmering corridors extended toward the planet, each one a gravitic tunnel shielded against Imperial interference. They pierced occupation barriers like threads of light, reaching the labor rings below. The AI announced, evacuation channel open, begin extraction. Prisoner modules disengaged, elevators launched, lifeboats fired upward, millions of human signals surged into the corridors, drawn toward safety. Sarah gripped the rail as the counts rose. 3 million, 6 million, 9 million. Marcus wiped a hand across his face. We're pulling out 15 million people under fire. And not killing a single crewman out there, Sarah said. Minute 12. The Imperial formation attempted another full-spectrum strike. The Aurelia responded with quantified mercy, 20 microfolds placed with surgical precision. Each fold removed a single subsystem, reactors downshifted, engines locked, weapons cocooned. No explosions, no casualties, just ships falling still. Disable the command tier, Hale ordered. The pulse struck the upper echelon. In 23 seconds, 47 command ships ceased resistance and transmitted identical signals. We surrender. Crew unharmed. Marcus stared at the screen. 47? That's not coincidence. No, Hale said. That is the Empire's first rational decision. The evacuation reached its final count, 15,000 rescued. Below them, Earth glimmered in the fractured light of retreating occupation grids. Above them, the million-ship armada drifted in stunned silence, crippled but alive. Sarah closed her hand around the rail. No revenge, no loss of life, just correction. The Aurelia rose slowly from orbit, carrying millions of freed souls and a galaxy forced to witness a new kind of power, one that refused to become what it defeated. The Empire did not meet the Aurelia with fire this time. It met her with silence. Not fear, not submission, something rarer, consideration. Sarah stood on the forward deck as the first diplomatic channel opened. 12 Imperial delegates appeared as hollow figures, their expressions uneven mixtures of defiance and uncertainty. None spoke at first. None knew how to address a power that had dismantled a million-ship armada without killing a single crew member. Strategist, Hale broke the silence. We are here to negotiate restoration, not dominance. A governor from the Talaris Rim stepped forward. Your rescue operation disrupted command cohesion across 8 sectors. Many worlds are reconsidering their allegiance, Marcus muttered. Meaning half the Empire is arguing about what comes next. Sarah kept her tone level. Captives returned, survivors protected. Now we seek terms to stabilize what your leaders broke. The delegates exchanged glances. Some hopeful, some censorious. One military prefect scowled. Your restraint means nothing if you intend to dictate the galaxy's fate, Sarah answered with calm clarity. We don't dictate. We repair. The AI shifted the projection, names, locations, evidence trails. In every file, Imperial officials who had overseen mass labor rings, suppression orders, and unlawful purges. No embellishment, no dramatics, just truth. These individuals, Hale said, will stand trial not before Terrans but before your own civilians. Justice must belong to the wounded cultures you claim to protect. The Talaris governor nodded slowly. Civilian-led tribunals, transparent, broadcast across all 800 worlds. He exhaled. This we can accept. The prefect flinched, but did not object. Stinger line, justice without conquest is still justice. The negotiations advanced, layer by delicate layer. First, the return of occupied Terran worlds. 12 spheres, taken in the Empire's first offensive, now slated for restoration under dual administration until stabilized. Second, amnesty for non-combatants caught in military service under coercion. Millions of conscripted aliens spared. Guilt they never chose. Third, humanitarian exchange lanes, Terran medical science, Imperial megastructure engineering, shared openly, without tribute. Fourth, the abolition of labor rings. 15 million former captives were already aboard sanctuary fleets, guided by the Aurelia's corridors. Their liberation forced the Empire to confront the truth. It could no longer hide what it built on stolen lives. The prefect finally spoke. You stress coexistence, yet you wield power capable of erasing us. Why trust you? Sarah allowed herself one breath before answering. Because if we intended to end you, we already would have. Silence again. But now it carried understanding. The AI introduced the final topic. Protocol 7, every delegate stiffened. Protocol 7, an ancient extermination contingency coded into pre-imperial architecture, designed to sterilize entire species if flagged as existential threats. The Empire had inherited it, feared it, never dared deactivate it. Cato approached the holotable. The protocol activated the moment the Aurelia reawakened. You brought 1 million ships to Earth because you feared the, trigger, Hale added. We can disable it, permanently. The delegates exchanged stunned looks. Why help us with that? Sarah answered the only way that mattered. Because coexistence cannot exist beside a weapon designed to erase civilizations. We will not live under that threat, and neither should you. The prefect lowered his gaze, shame replacing resistance. Do it! The AI displayed the cascading shutdown sequence. 7 layers of safeguards unwound in perfect order until the core directive finally dimmed. dark for the first time in centuries. Protocol 7 ceased to exist. The Talaris governor spoke softly. Then this is a beginning. Sarah nodded. A shared one. You keep your worlds, we reclaim ours, we hold each other accountable. And the fleet you disabled? Another delegate asked. Restored, Sarah said. Once your new civilian councils are in place. Hale leaned forward. Coexistence is not surrender, it is responsibility. The delegates bowed their heads, not to Terrans, but to the weight of a future they had almost lost. As the transmission closed, Sarah watched the stars settle into quiet alignment. The terms had been set. The galaxy would not be rebuilt by one, side over the other, but by both, held steady by the memory of what almost happened. The Aurelia pulsed softly beneath her feet, ready for whatever horizon waited next. The first days of coexistence unfolded with a fragile, unfamiliar quiet. No fleets mobilized. No ultimatums spread across the comnet. For the first time in 15 years, space around Earth felt open. No longer a cage of foreign steel, but a crossroads. Sarah stood on the Aurelia's observation deck as the planet rotated below, its night side glowing with restored power grids instead of occupation lights. Shuttle lanes moved steadily, carrying former captives to shelters and reconstruction sites. Imperial envoys arrived under civilian escort, their vessels unarmed by agreement. Each carried the same mixture of caution and curiosity. The hostility that had shaped the Empire's doctrine for generations was thinning, replaced by something new, the prospect of trust. Hale joined her, reading off a tablet filled with new council resolutions. Talaris Rim has adopted the Joint Tribunal framework. 4 more sectors will follow by cycle's end. Good, Sarah said. Stability makes peace real. Cato stepped forward. The reforms are holding for now, but reform is not defense, Rabi nodded. Which is why we remain, the AI interrupted with a soft chime. A long-range sensor anomaly detected. Marcus arrived moments later, expression tight. It's not Imperial, not military. It's something older. The deck dimmed as the AI projected the signal source, a single point on the edge of the mapped galaxy. A faint pulse, barely measurable, once every 20 seconds, too regular to be natural, too quiet to be a transmission meant for the living. Sarah's stomach tightened. Origin? Unknown, the AI replied. But waveform. Analysis aligns with pre-Imperial architecture. Cato's breath caught. That's the signature of the exterminator lattice. Hale stepped closer, eyes narrowing. Protocol 7 was not the whole system. It was just the trigger. The weapon it pointed to may still exist. Marcus whispered, the truth no one wanted to face. Something old is still listening. A line formed in Sarah's mind, sharp and steady. Peace does not stop what watches beyond it. The AI deepened the scan. No activation detected, no targeting, only a dormant heartbeat. Hale crossed her arms. Dormant things wake when conditions change. Coexistence may look like instability to an ancient machine, Cato added. The lattice was built to evaluate threats at civilization scale. Our resurgence will register. Sarah kept her voice calm. How long until it notices fully? Unknown, the AI said. Probability increases with Terran activity, colonial restoration, and multi-faction cooperation. The lattice optimizes for pattern recognition. So simply existing, Marcus said quietly, is enough. Silence pressed against them, not fear, but understanding. Sarah turned to the starfield. We don't run. Not from empires, not from ghosts. If something old wakes, it finds us standing together. Hale nodded. Then we must prepare quietly. No escalation, no panic. We strengthen coalitions. We stabilize restored worlds. We teach the Empire what partnership means. Cato finished the thought. And we watch the horizon. Below them, Earth brightened as dawn crossed the oceans. Reconstruction caravans moved along old highways. Imperial aid ships delivered materials to Terran shelters. A joint signal buoy pulsed above the planet, broadcasting the new pact in 12 languages. Coexistence was no longer theory. It was happening, messy, tentative, real. Sarah looked once more at the distant pulse on the projection. Aurelia, maintain silent vigilance. Track it. Study it. Prepare for what it might become. Guardian mode engaged, the AI answered. Long-range sensors committed. The exterminator signal flickered again. Faint, ancient, steady. Far from Earth, far from peace. But seen. The Aurelia held her position above the recovering world, massive and patient, a silent guardian watching both a fragile present and a future, shaped by whatever stirred in the dark beyond the stars.